Hi, it's Mark Bossert here with Mr. Bernie Pawlik, Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver. 19-time winners of Best Auto Repair in Vancouver as voted by their customers. And we're talking this morning about a truck, a 2001 Chevy Suburban that had an intermittent no-start problem. How are you doing this morning, Bernie?
Doing very well.
So what was going on with this rather large rotund boat anchor SUV?
Well, I'll add in, actually, this happened to be my own personal vehicle. So what was happening is about a month and a half, 2 months ago, it developed this interesting no-start issue. I pulled into a store, got something, walked out, cranked the engine over, cranked over fine, but it wouldn't start. I go, oh, that's weird. It's never done that before. And I was a little flustered. And after trying it for a couple of minutes, it started up, ran great. And I drove home going, oh, that's kind of weird. And never gave me a problem for another couple of weeks. Mentioned it to my wife. She goes, yeah, it's done that once before too. So never gave it much of a problem. And because I'm busy, it's like the classic thing of the shoemakers' kids having their bad shoes. Sometimes, unfortunately, my cars get treated like that. And in the case of this vehicle, it kind of went like that. It took about a month and a half or so before we finally got to the final diagnosis and repair, which we're sharing on this podcast. But what happened in between is it just got slowly worse. But it seemed to always be consistent. If the engine was hot and you leave it for a few minutes, it would be hard to start. But if you left it for a little longer, it would start just fine. So that was basically the issue. And it boiled down to being a bad fuel pump at the end of the day, which was surprising because I'd replaced the fuel pump about 3 or 4 years ago with a high quality pump that wasn't dead, but I figured, hey, let's get on top of this thing because the vehicle's got pretty high mileage. Let's make sure the pump's good. So because I was one of the things that quit on these vehicles and don't want to be stranded somewhere. So finally, eventually this replacement unit quit probably a lot sooner than I expected it would.
So how did you diagnose that it was the fuel pump? And then how did you verify that the pump was the problem?
Right. Well, initially I didn't really, I figured it was a fuel issue because just by the way that the vehicle was operating, but it didn't seem initially like a fuel pump because normally when a pump dies, it'll do what we just did there. And maybe you might, bang the gas tank or something, get it going. It doesn't usually restart after a couple of clicks of the key. So I figured maybe there's some kind of weird electronic or electrical glitch with the vehicle, a sensor perhaps. So first step was, of course, to hook a scan tool up, scanned it for codes. There was nothing relevant in any sort of way to a no start issue. Tested some of the sensors like the crank sensor, which is a pretty important input in terms of starting the engine. It was fine. Figured possibly again, because it was an intermittent issue and not happening consistently, I figured maybe there was an issue with the pass lock key. There's a security system on these GM vehicles, and they have to send a signal when you insert the key and turn it. It sends a signal to the computer to start it or not. And it'll do exactly this. It'll crank over, but it won't start. It'll disable the fuel. So tested that system out pretty thoroughly. It was all good. So again, just got on with life. It got busy, and then eventually the vehicle got worse and finally died. And finally, the final straw was banging. In an emergency, had to bang the gas tank with a hammer. It started up. So, okay, that's pretty much a guaranteed diagnosis right there.
So flashing back to memories of crawling under this old Volvo I had to pound on the fuel pump to get it to go.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And the reason that works, by the way, if anyone's wondering, is that, the pump, it has a motor with it's called a commutator. It's got little brushes and 8 spots on the motor. When one of them wears, the pump can't turn, but if you bang it, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes the pump's so dead it won't work. But sometimes if you bang it, just jolts the pump enough to move that little millimeter, quarter of a millimeter to enough to just get the electricity to flow, and then the pump starts running.
So did you do something else to check that other than?
Yeah. So the other interesting bit of diagnosis, because I was that I use as a lab scope to look at the actual current. It's called a current ramp test of the fuel pump, just to see what was happening with it. Because as I said, I was surprised because the pump wasn't that. I mean, it's like 3-4 years old. Really shouldn't have died at this early of an age. So I want to see exactly what this looks like, because this is a test we can do sometimes to test people's fuel pumps. And if someone's got an intermittent issue like this, it's a good way to see, hey, is the fuel pump actually the problem? So I'll just share some pictures here. We did this with a lab scope. And
what is a lab scope?
So what is a lab scope? So this is basically, and I'll just share the picture here. We can see it. But basically a lab scope, it's an oscilloscope that attaches it either takes a voltage or an amperage signal. In this case, we use a current probe, and we actually take a sweep of the actual current as it's being drawn through the fuel pump. So this is with the new fuel pump with the this is the engine running, and this is the current flowing through the fuel pump. So on one side we have the voltage being used, and on the other side we have time frame. So you can see this is 100 milliseconds across here. That's a 101,000th of a second. So this is 10/1000th of a second. So you can actually calculate the speed that the pump's turning. I'm not going to get into that. It requires a little bit of math, but not a lot. But you can see little humps here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is basically a healthy fuel pump. It's got a little bit of a dip up, and the reason it has these different little sort of pulses is this is where the commutator, which is where the brushes run inside the motor, this is where they contact, and there's a change in current flow every time it goes past. Now, this is a good pump. Let's have a look at what a bad pump looks like, the old one. Very hashy. There's some distinct rises here, but there's also very distinct drops. Now, this is a bit unusual for a fuel pump too, because a lot of current problems with fuel pumps, you'll often find if you have a bad fuel pump, that the pattern will look like this, except it'll have one or two missing peaks here. And that often indicates, there's like a commutator that's actually worn off. But whatever was going on in this fuel pump caused a pretty radical spike in voltage. Interestingly enough, I mean, when the engine was running, it ran perfectly, but I think just because these big spikes here required a lot of power to get the pump turning, and that's why it wouldn't start. When you're cranking the engine over, the voltage is lower, and so it just didn't quite have enough juice to turn. But once it was moving, it worked fine. So that's what we can see with a lab scope. There are many things we test with lab scopes. It can take a little extra time to hook it up, but often it'll verify things. And had someone come in with this concern and said, hey, I got this intermittent problem, but it only happens once in a blue moon. This is a test we could have done. It didn't take a lot of time. That could have verified, what, your fuel pump pattern's bad. We should change it.
So after you replaced the fuel pump, everything ran well?
Yeah, it started fine, ran well, perfect. Yeah, really nice.
And this is quite an old
vehicle again.
This is a 18-year-old vehicle now, and it's yours. How does it run overall, and is it worth still keeping it going on the road?
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I've taken really good care of it, and the engine actually wore out at about 300,000 kilometers, so I replaced it. I put a 6-liter, so it's a slightly larger engine than the 5.3 that came in. I put a nice used 6-liter engine in it. It runs great. I mean, as I said, I mean, I've kept up all the maintenance and repairs on it. When you drive it, it just drives like a brand new truck still. And even the shock absorbers, which surprising, they're actually original still. And I've towed a trailer with it. It's built well. I mean, the ride is perfect. It's smooth. The only thing I can complain about, the fuel economy is not great because it's a big beast. But other than that, it's a good vehicle, and I'll keep it for a few more years. It's worth doing. But again, it's like, the key is to fix things as they wear out, as opposed to leaving a big pile of things, and all of a sudden it's like multi-$1,000 bill, and you go, no, it's not worth it. I'll just junk it. But a replacement for Suburban's a lot of money, even a good used one. So.
Yeah, it's a heck of a lot cheaper to spend a few thousand a year than 80,000 or more on a brand new one.
Yeah, well, actually 100. I mean, the equivalent of this model, I've seen them in dealerships. It's over $100,000. That's a lot of money for a truck.
Yeah.
But if you keep it 20 years and you amortize it out, then that's only $5,000 a year, but you still need 100,000. It's a lot of monthly payments or a lot of cash up front, whichever way you go. So a good used one works well.
Yeah. So I take back, it's a boat anchor. This is a good used vehicle that's fulfilling its purpose.
Yeah. It's not a boat anchor yet. It still works and runs. So, and it's good. It's a good boat hauler.
So there you go. If you have a boat hauler or trailer hauler or people mover that's huge and needs some maintenance, the guys to see in Vancouver are Pawlik Automotive. You can reach them at 604-327-7112 to book your appointment. You have to book ahead. They're busy. Or check out their website, pawlikautomotive.com. There's tons of information on there as well. There's the YouTube channel, Pawlik Auto Repair, hundreds, literally, over 400 videos on there of all makes, models, and years of cars and types of repairs and maintenance as well. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We appreciate it. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks for watching and listening. We love having you as an audience member. Is that right? Thanks.